Welcome to episode number 59 of the Auld Triangle. We are back to talk about all the latest news in Irish mixed martial arts, and lots of news is floating around the scene right now. Obviously, we were massively excited to come on here and talk about the UFC 303 press conference, which was supposed to be happening in Dublin last week. Didn't happen for us, obviously. A sequence of events had the press conference cancelled, and unfortunately we were left wanting more. The lads were supposed to be there. We were excited to come on and talk about it, but it wasn't to be. But we can talk about maybe some of the turns of events that led to it anyway. Lots of confusion in the air before the event was cancelled. Even more confusion in the air after the event was cancelled. Look, we're recording this a little bit early. Things may have materialized, to be honest, at the release of this podcast. If it is, so be it. But what we know now is that the press conference was cancelled. The fight is still on as we know it. No one has confirmed that the fight was off at this stage. And at least that is the bonus of the entire situation, that we haven't lost the fight as of yet anyway. Boys, how are you keeping? Are you keeping well? Obviously disappointing to hear about the presser as well. Head over to you first, Andy. How are you keeping?
They were just trying to keep me and Caoilte away from each other. That's the real scandal here, is the real travesty in all of this. The L triangle, or the L line, we're going to get together. We didn't have our third point, but look, I'm buzzing. I'm doing great. I'm making you record this early because I'm heading away for a couple of weeks. And if you are listening to this and there still isn't clarity over the Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler fight, then this has been dragging on for a long, long time at this point.
Yeah, indeed it has. There's not too much out there. There's speculation, there's rumors, but at this stage, it's about as much as we know is that the fight is happening. So that's the way we'll continue on there. But look, it was disappointing the way it turned out. Obviously, I would imagine there's no one really to blame for the situation, I don't think. Look at timing of announcements and other stuff like that. I mean, maybe they could have been better, but I think, everybody did their damnedest to try and ensure that the event could happen. But sometimes, as Conor said in his statement, circumstances happen beyond anybody's control. And that's it. At this stage, Caoilte, how are you feeling about the whole situation? Obviously disappointing not to get it's disappointing for you lads not to be able to go and ask a couple of questions. It's disappointing for Conor. It's disappointing for Chandler. It's disappointing for the UFC, and definitely disappointing for the Irish fans as well, who are really looking forward to it. The event sold out in an instant. And I mean, any questions really around Conor's star power or, the interest in him as a fighter, as a person, I mean, those were answered with how quickly the tickets were sold, Caoilte, weren't they?
They really were. And now we're left with so many unanswered questions, both from the presser and from what's kind of happening in general. But look, it's disappointing for the fans and for everyone involved. But look, it is what it is at the end of the day as well. I think probably a few bits could have been, I don't know, there was news and rumours flying around the day before and everything, and maybe the time of the announcement you can criticise slightly is the fact that it was the morning of, and could that have potentially been done the day before? But c'est la vie, that's what it is, and that's what we have to deal with. It's they did say it's postponement, so hopefully fans that were planning on going and media, etc., will get the opportunity to go to this press conference eventually, whether it happens in the near future or in the late future.
I don't think it's going to happen. It's so too soon to the fight. Yeah, it would be. I'd be shocked as well. And
ever the optimist I'm trying to be here, lads. Come on.
I know, fair play. Yeah, but no, I'm just thinking logistically. I think look at, obviously if the fight is going ahead, that's brilliant, and you'll have your fight week press conference and all of that. But I think trying to drag people back over, it was timed perfectly that they probably went from the last event. They were going straight to Dublin, quick blast over in Dublin. I'd say UFC personnel, Chandler, everyone, they were only going to be touching down in Ireland for a matter of hours, quick in and out job. Yeah. And I don't know whether that's going to be happening right now. I don't think they'll get the opportunity. Maybe it's an idea that they can kind of revisit down the line. But, I think, it's just sad, and it would have helped build the fight a little bit. Obviously, there's hype around the fight as is. And, I'd rather, we have to mention it. I think if we talk too much about it, I think it could be all wasted, because there may be certain events that may happen that, either confirm that the fight is on or off. We haven't heard any word as the time of recording here. So maybe to spare our blushes a little bit, I think it was worth to mention, Andy. I don't know whether you have any final thoughts on it before we move on.
Yeah, there's not much point in going into the details of it too much, because it's probably old news. Or hopefully it's old news by the time this comes out. But there was two things. So one, I was definitely kind of not giving out, but just kind of saying this is not ideal. It's pretty bad form for the fans to be kind of dropped in the lurch here on the day. But I was chatting to someone and they kind of pointed out to me, while it is undoubtedly really, really shit for, if you're one of the 10,000 fans that were getting up on the Monday morning expecting to go see a Conor McGregor press conference and the UFC finally coming back to Ireland, there could have easily been a situation where obviously we found out that Chandler was told not to board a flight on the Sunday, but perhaps they were just waiting to see, maybe the UFC didn't know at the time and we're thinking, okay, well, maybe we'll stick him on a later flight out or buy a bit of time. So I don't know if that was the case or not, but there was probably a bit more rhyme and reason to the UFC's point of view there, to be fair to them. And that's saying as someone who was giving out about it on the Monday.
Yeah, you do hear little inklings of pieces of information and stuff like that. Obviously, we have to be careful about what we're saying and how we kind of analyze the situation. But I can say, there was always a big push to try and make that event happen at the last hour. It's not a decision that they would have taken lightly to absolutely pull that. That was a big deal, to pull a press conference like that as well. I mean, when you think about all of the moving parts around it too. So look, it's
the financial loss off it as well. You wouldn't want to make a financial loss off something like
that. But it would have been even worse maybe to fly everybody over too at the same time and have it happen. So I suppose when you're dealing with fighters and you're dealing with camps and you got to get that information out there and keep them in the loop as well. I mean, talking about how big Conor is. Go ahead, Andy. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, but the one thing that I do think it's really unfortunate. This is not what the point of this press conference was, but we talk about this all the time, trying to get that momentum going for Irish MMA, where you're leading into a summer where you, in theory, you have Conor McGregor and Ian Garry fighting on a card in June, and then you've got 3 Irish on the Manchester card in July. If we were to have had that moment, that event where you've got 10,000 screaming Irish fans, putting the spotlight, the UFC spotlight. We have other MMA spotlight in Ireland, but the UFC spotlight in Ireland, and then to use that as a boost up to try and get the momentum going, that would have been great. And we don't know if they were going to have Ian Garry over. It didn't seem like they were going to at all. But again, I think that was a missed opportunity there for him, whether they were going to have him there or not.
But nonetheless, hopefully some good news arises out of the whole situation anyway. And, I guess we'll know a little bit more at the time. We'll be back on again for the next episode ahead of the proposed date. So I'm sure that the information will be a little bit more clear. T-Mobile Arena are still advertising the fight. Nobody has come out and said that the fight is off. So I think that's the positive little bit of snippet that we'll leave that situation on for the time being, any which way, unless something changes in between now and the time we release this, which is a little bit of time. There is a little bit of time from when we're recording this to when we're putting it out. So
do predictions, because we've nothing to lose here. Does it happen?
Yes, I think it happens. You, Andy?
Quiz, you answer first, because then I'll just choose my answer.
Wait. What does the fight happen?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes.
Oh God. Nearly feeling inclined to go against you guys. Just to be a bit different. No, I do. I think I have the bit of hope is what I call it now. I have hope that it'll happen. So yes, I'm going to go. Yes, it's going to happen. It's happened. If it wasn't, I think we'd know by now. That's what I'm basing that on, to be very honest with you.
Just edit this out if we got it wrong as well, because by the time
yeah. Blame Andy for asking the question, but not all doom and gloom, lads. In terms of UFC and Irish competitors, obviously we had the kickoff of the Ultimate Fighter episode 1. We'll cover episode 1 a little bit. Episode 2 will have been out, obviously, but we're not going to talk this. We won't spoil it on anyone just yet. We'll cover it on the next episode of the Owl Triangle as well. But episode 1 saw the teams being formed: Team Grasso, Team Shevchenko, and obviously the Irish interest of Paddy McCorry of Fight Academy Ireland, Omran Chaaban of Team KF, both lands on the same team, Andy. So your possible dream of a potential Team KF FAI clashes went straight out the window from the get-go. You must have been devastated when you heard
No. What'll happen is that they'll both win all their fights, and it'll come to a situation where you've got two lads on the same team, so one of them has to go over to, we know how this goes.
Yes,
All Ireland final,
in the final. Well, I did a preview with Theo on for the entire season, and that's what we said. We completely shilled out at the end of it and said, we wanted Omran and Paddy to be fighting in the final to a draw, and both.
That's the dream.
Yeah, that's it. Well, look, it's good to see the lads there. It added a nice bit of extra interest to me anyway, at the very least. So what about, I know you haven't quite caught the entire episode yet, Caoilte, but definitely there is that level of interest there that you might not always have for an episode of The Ultimate Fighter.
Only reason I'm watching. That, to be very honest, only reason I'm watching. I'm looking forward to it. I hope they change the format, because usually every episode is formatted the same. I'd love to see a little bit more of the what goes on in the house, a bit of the chatter from between the fighters, that's not just them being interviewed on a camera. I'd love to see more of that stuff. I'm excited to see the challenges as well. But look, I'm mainly going to be watching for Omran and Paddy's fights and seeing how they get on, to be very honest. And it's the main interest. I'm buzzing to see how they get on now.
Yeah, not too much camera time, Andy, for the boys anyway. Go ahead. You were going to say something?
I was just going to ask, do we have beef with Valentina Shevchenko now, or what's the story?
Well, look, we're not going. All I can say is that we're not going to be drinking any water during the duration of this podcast. She runs a tight ship, does Valentina. And I tell you, when I'm watching her coaching, she's really competitive, and I think that's going to make things very exciting as well. Geez, she was going absolutely nuts there, trying to coach on the fighters in the first fight, but not too much. Where I was going, Andy, was not too much camera time for the boys, for Omran and Paddy. We did get a classic line from Paddy McCorry, though. The Irish are known for drinking and for fighting, and I'm not too much of a drinker, so you know where that leaves them. Anyway, I thought that was very good as well. It's cool to see.
A very smart line as well, because the Americans will lap that shit up.
Yes, indeed. You love it. You love to see it. So look at all in all, you can keep up with The Ultimate Fighter, obviously, here on the Auld Triangle. We'll focus on the boys' fights and everything like that. I will be doing a weekly show as well on each episode if you want to keep up that way. We don't have to wait too long to see the Irish in action, lads. Omran's in action next week. On a tough fight.
Singled out, targeted, some might say, by Shevchenko.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Obviously with Omran's and his chances in there, you'd be moving up to the middleweight division. You have obviously the disadvantage of maybe being a little bit outside, but you have the advantage of not having to cut as much weight as maybe a bigger middleweight in the tournament too. And I think I prefer to be on Omran's side, if I'm being honest, in those, you're cutting weight at really regular times, and because he's got the stylers. It's a very wrestling / grappling heavy cast this year now as well. So it'll be interesting to see how the boys kind of deal with that. But yeah, it's cool that we get to see Omran. We don't have to wait too long for the boys to fight, so it'll be interesting to see what happens on that as well. Moving on, we were going to talk a little bit about Bellator Dublin. Obviously Bellator Dublin right around the corner. Andy Stevenson is going to be fresh off the plane. You'll notice in the second half of this podcast when we come on, Andy will be gone. He'll be over enjoying his honeymoon, as he rightly deserves as well.
Yeah, you guys can stop listening then, unsubscribe.
Throw on shade. Maybe we'll just continue on and we won't have you back.
That's when the podcast actually gets good, is when I leave.
But basically, you'll be coming straight off the plane, straight into this card. A card that I have to say, not to be super negative, that hasn't really caught the imagination really as maybe past cards that have taken place in terms of Bellator. Look, we got obviously the two Nathan Kellys on the card. We got Sinead Kavanagh on the card. We got a couple of more interesting fights. Dara Kelly, I guess, on the card as well. Unfortunately, we got the news last week, more so confirmation than news, to be honest, that Brian Moore is no longer able to compete on the card. So that kind of cuts down the Irish interest even more, Caoilte. Just curious to hear what your thoughts are overall on this card and the excitement levels or anticipation levels for Bellator Dublin, June 22nd.
Yeah, as like, I guess as a diehard fight fan, I like a lot of the fights. As an Irish MMA fan, I struggle to see how it's going to, outside of the Irish fights, I struggle to see how the card as an entirety is going to attract the interest from the general fan in Ireland, to be honest, because they're like, you know, we want to go and want to see Irish fighters. Realistically, most times if you're an Irish MMA fan, when there's very few in the card, there's probably going to be a good few fans that would usually go that might decide not to when maybe their favorite fighter isn't going to be on the card. And then the other ones may not look that appealing to them, some of the other fights in the card. You know, there's a lot of what I would call random fights, to be honest, for what we compare to a usual Bellator Dublin or PFL Dublin, whatever they're called nowadays. So, yeah, I don't know, it's not a massive letdown, but I expected a little more. However, the fights we do have with the Irish, I do really like, especially the fact that Paul Hughes is co-main and Sinead Kavanagh on the main card and against Arlene Blanco. I love that.
Big time. That's what I was going to kind of bring in Andy for as well, as obviously the only Irish fighter I didn't mention originally was big news, Paul Hughes coming in to take on Bobby King. Obviously, Andy, you spoke with Paul Hughes ahead of the fight. You can catch that over on SevereMMA if you haven't, on the YouTube channel, if you haven't already. A great interview there. Really interested to see Paul in there against a guy like Bobby King. Says he's ready for a 3-round war. Do you expect to see a 3-round war after speaking to him? I don't know about that.
No, I don't. I think it's a good thing to say. And I think
you want to get I think this is my theory. You say you're going to go in a 3-round war, you get more fans to buy tickets because maybe people might have the opinion, it's like, oh, Paul might go in and start this guy early and stuff like that, and maybe they want to see a little bit more of Paul Hughes. But I think Paul Hughes gets this guy out of there as quickly as he wants, or as late as he wants, to be honest. But I'm sure you feel the same, Andy.
Yeah, like you're expecting what this fight is. The expectation is this is Paul Hughes' introduction to this new market, to this new audience, and more of an American audience, because, you know, obviously the Irish and the UK fans and European fans will be keeping an eye on Cage Warriors and watching that, but it's more so like that kind of diehard fan base rather than a more casual audience. Now, I mean, I don't know what casual. Yeah, I'm not even going to go down this road of whether Bellator has a casual audience. Yeah, I guess they do. They have a lot more of a casual audience than Cage Warriors would, I would imagine.
A little bit, but like a casual audience, I feel, for, like, with all due respect to Bellator and PFL, a casual audience for Bellator PFL are probably just going to watch it on the television rather than spend tickets to go up to Dublin, tickets to the event. Like, I mean, I think what drew a lot of the crowd back in the day was that, like, there was massive Irish interest where we had, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 Irish fighters on the card per se. Like, and I agree with what Caoilte said. Like, I think this is a really, really good card, but is it going to, you have to be able to draw in the casual audience, really. And, you know, the way ticket sales are going, it doesn't look like they've been able to achieve that. This out now, 3 weeks to go, a couple of weeks to go there. You know, ticket sales do normally pick up within the last 2 weeks of the event as well. But, you know, would there be a slight worry that, you know, if this doesn't do too good ticket sales wise, that, you know, it might kind of deter Bellator from bringing cards over here? And I think that would be absolutely disastrous altogether.
Maybe. I mean, it's a risk. It's certainly, we haven't seen, I don't think there's another PFL card scheduled for.
No, there's no other. This is the last Irish card of the year. I mean, you'll have your domestic shows and regional shows, but Cage Warriors have not announced another show for the rest of the year, nor of PFL as well. So, I mean, we had like such an influx of shows. Maybe is there a bit of burnout? Maybe that might exist here as well.
100%.
Yeah, like
a lot of them are just. It's rinse and repeat. Look, you've got Paul Hughes on this one, which is the new aspect, and obviously Nathan Kelly riding a 10-fight win streak. Like, the Irish fighters are all exciting. Like, I'm interested to see them. It's just it's always been the matchmaking, and even, you know, albeit it's a bit of a different situation where Paul is scheduled for the PFL tournament, and a lot of fighters are tied up. But, you know, like, you hear Bobby King's name, he's not he's not blowing the matchup itself isn't blowing anyone's socks off. It's more, right, we're here to see Paul Hughes' debut. It is interesting. He's teasing some bits out here. Obviously, he was on with Ariel a while back, and he was kind of teasing this plan that he has in place. I was trying to draw it out of him unsuccessfully when I spoke to him as well, but he did mention, and I noticed that he was kind of in the Instagram comments targeting Usman Nurmagomedov. So I wouldn't be surprised to go in here, see him get a win, and then start calling out some of the guys on the Bellator roster to get some kind of big fights against some of those guys ahead of going into the PFL tournament next year. So look, this could be a springboard for Hughes into some big fights after this. And look, I'm really looking forward to watching this. I'm looking forward to going to the event. But yeah, like looking at the ticket sales as of a week ago, estimating you're talking maybe 20-30% sold of a reduced arena. Now that you would assume will pick up in over the coming weeks, but
you would hope so. Like, I think the card does deserve a crowd. Like, I mean, but I'm just looking based off previous events, what drew interest there as well. Look, I think they put together a solid card here, Caoilte. And I mean, there's a lot of good up and coming talent on it. You got Michel Montage, you got Norbert Navini Jr., who obviously don't have any Irish ties. Got Simeon Powell on there as well. Obviously, we have the Irish interest. That's good. A couple of good fights for Nathan Kelly and Nate Kelly Sinead as well in a rematch against Arlene Blencow. Obviously, she lost Arlene before and has a chance to get that one back. So, I mean, I will hope that it gets a little bit more interested. I guess, like, I don't want it to kind of spray a negative vibe on it and saying that it's not the card isn't good enough to draw a crowd. I think it is good enough. My worry is that if they don't draw the attention, that they might not fucking come back altogether. Caoilte, what do you think?
I think a brilliant point. The one thing I think from a business perspective, they will acknowledge the fact that they are missing massive ticket sellers. So they're missing Peter Queally, James Gallagher, and Kieran Clark, people would usually expect to be on these cards. We see the crowd he brings. If you're ever in a 3 Arena, you see the pop he gets. He sells tickets. And we all know that Peter and James do as well, but they're 3 massive ticket sellers they're missing. So when you take them out of the equation, you see, okay, you're missing them. If you can guarantee getting all 3 of them on, Paul Hughes, Nathan Kelly, Sinead, and then fill it up with the rest of the Irish fighters, like, wow, I think they can see potential for a massive card and even open up the second tier. I could be reaching, but I do believe that will be a possibility if you stack it to the 9s with Irish talent. With the ticket sellers that they have. So they might try and give it a go and see an opportunity there to try and stack it in future, but there obviously is that worry that, are they deterred from the current ticket sale? I actually have it open here at the moment. It has improved slightly, but still not great viewing, to be honest.
Yeah, and you'll definitely get an influx of ticket sales within the last couple of weeks as well. But we have to remember too that but it wasn't a PFL. They put on that €10 deal as well to kind of sell it out last December. So maybe
they should do that again.
You should,
They should do that again. They should give them away, fill an arena, whatever way you need to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Every single fighter that's fighting on that card deserves to be fighting in front of a packed out arena, no matter how they do it. So it'll be the interest. Out of all the Irish fights, obviously Paul Hughes is the big interest. Obviously, he's making his debut, and it's a good fight for him in the co-main event, a good slot as well. Any other stories are sticking out on the card in terms of interest for you lads at all, Caoilte, Andy?
Outside of the Irish fighters, I'm very much looking forward to seeing Michelle Montague. She's kind of been on this kind of track with PFL since they signed her. She's kind of went up. I think she's bounced between 145, 155. I remember when she was an amateur there, she was talking. I think there was talks of her going to 135, but she's found a home and she's very comfortable at 155, 145, and she looks very good. It's like she's like a protege to Kayla Harrison, kind of training with her consistently, and maybe like we get to see like a passing of the torch nearly, how Kayla Harrison's moved on and Michelle Montague can potentially go for the $1 million eventually. I know she's only 4-0, but she looks very, very good, and I've been high on her since she's been an amateur, and she's impressed me even more as a pro.
Indeed. Andy, what about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this. I'll kind of look at the Irish, like Sinead Kavanagh versus Arlene Blencow. Sinead lost a close split decision to Arlene, a number of years ago now. Obviously, Sinead's coming off another split decision loss there, but most recently to Sarah Collins. She's 4-2 in her last 6. One of those was obviously against Chris Cyborg as well. So she had those 2 wins, the one against Leah and then another one off the back of that. And if she could get a win here, she could be putting herself back in. That women's featherweight division, you're only ever a few wins away from challenging for a title. And obviously I think it was reported, wasn't it, that Cyborg's coming back against Larissa Pacheco, obviously in the PFL side of the house. But, with everything amalgamated now, you don't know what opportunities are going to be arising. So I think this is a big fight for Sinead. We were hoping to have that rematch with Leah. Obviously, Leah got injured. But, if Sinead goes in and gets a win here, she can leapfrog Leah then again as far as putting her standing in the title, which I'm sure she'll be delighted to do, because there's clearly a lot of beef there at the moment.
Absolutely, they're kind of leapfrogging each other from fight to fight. It's actually fun to watch as well. So be a fight I'd be very surprised if it didn't happen as well. Obviously, look, we spoke to Nate the Great Kelly in the last episode of the Auld Triangle about his fight and everything like that. It's great, exciting to see him back as well. Tough test on Paul Nolan as well. I think we can't count Paul Nolan out here at all. He deserves the right. He's going to go in there. We said it's a step up in competition for Nate the Great Kelly. He's not going in there with any pressure whatsoever. A big opportunity for Paul of Team Milo of Kilkenny as well. So I'm excited to see that matchup. And obviously Nathan Kelly, coming in here, change of opponent. He was supposed to be fighting the French fella. What was his name, lads?
Fabiari Decadi, or what was his name? Hang on, I have Tapology open. Fabakari Diada.
That's right. I couldn't see it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I saw it on here. He is out now. He has a new challenger in Jose Sanchez. Look at another winnable fight for him. But like you said, Nathan Kelly is excuse my French, shit hot right now, to tell you the truth. Really, his level of performances that he's bringing into the cage, and I can't wait to see what he has to bring here again. He'll have the chance to unleash maybe another couple of elbows, but this is a guy like Nathan Kelly, like rock solid mentality, laser focus in there, super well rounded, and getting better and better and better every time we see him in the cage. So I'm really excited for that as well. He's a beast. I haven't spoken to him yet, but I should be speaking to him. I always hate promising interviews before they happen, because you never know, but it's likely that it will.
It's out now in SevereMMA. It's not just something happens, so just deal with it, lads.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Here, Nathan Kelly, right? What they need to... Nathan Kelly is 10 fight win streak. 8 of those wins are first round finishes. He's an absolute killer. The chap is a beast. He was the main event not too long ago, and now I'm pretty sure he's on the prelims here, which...
Bellator going Bellator.
But you have a guy on this card who the Irish fan base who have been going to these shows should be familiar with now, and who a lot of people are familiar with, and that's Hassan Magomed Sharipov, right? We were talking about this before, where you could look at putting Kieran Clark in against him, when the 2 undefeated lads get them in against each other. Well, Kieran's gone to 135, so now you have Nathan Kelly riding this 10-fight win streak. Magomed Sharipov's coming into this 9-0. So if the 2 of those lads win, build on this, build a story, get some, Nathan Kelly should be in these intriguing fights. Get him in there against someone like that for his next fight. So I don't know. I just feel like that's why the crowds are dwindling. We don't have the storylines. We don't have the gym versus gym rivalries. Back when you'd see Phil Mulpeter going against the Team Rhino lad, all of this type of stuff in the early cards that were in 2019.
And they went there because they did it with Peter and with Miles back in the day. You know what I mean? And you remember the hype around that fight? It was insane. So it was. And I take a leaf out of Andy Stevenson's book. A bit of Irish on Irish violence isn't all that bad from time to time.
But that's exactly what you were saying earlier on. This is a card that's a really, really good TV card. And it is still a really, really good card. Or it's a good card that I'm interested in, Coach. I'm not going to say it's the most amazing card ever. I'm very excited to see the Irish fighters. I'm very excited to see Paul Hughes' debut. But there's more that they could be doing here for the Irish fan base to draw the in-person crowds in, and they just don't seem to do it.
Yeah, and look at, like Caoilte said as well, with Peter obviously getting injured, not too much you can do about that. James Gallagher, I thought we would have seen him on the card, if I'm being honest. Not sure what the situation was there. And obviously Kieran Clark had said at the Belfast show that he was unable to compete here, and hopes to get onto the London card a little bit later on. So, I definitely lean on what you were saying too much, but on the other side, there is some things outside of their control as well. But stuff like that, Dara Kelly's fight is not listed here in topology. That is happening for sure, though, isn't it?
He's fighting.
Yeah, it just doesn't look like it's
what's his first name? I'm forgetting his first name. Poiron, a French fighter. That is. I saw Bellator. They announced it themselves there. Obviously, I reported it previously, but they're still promoting it.
Yeah, another very good up and comer too that we can keep in mind. 100%. So get there early. They have Nathan Kelly listed as a second fight on the night, which I think is crazy, to be honest. But like you said, Kazan Magomed Sharapov, brother of Zabit, opening up the card, proposing to open up the card anyway. Obviously things can change, but get there. If you're thinking about getting tickets, don't think about it, get them, go up there. It's going to be a good night of fights as well, and it'll be good to cheer on the Irish fighters that will be in attendance as well. Moving on, lads, obviously Stephen Costello picked up a fantastic win and his first title at Fight to One, the welterweight title, with a second round TKO win over Alexander Mikael. We didn't waste any time in getting in contact with Stephen to come in and talk about the fight with us as well. So I think we'll head on over there and check out what Stephen had to say about his big win, what may be next for him, etc. And we'll be back to talk a little bit of IÚR, PFL Newcastle, etc.
And join us now in the Auld Triangle off the back of a massive win over in Tenerife, Spain, is Stephen Costello. Stephen, how are you getting on after a massive win?
Oh, good, lads. Good to see us. Feeling good. A little bit of a sore leg, but well worth it.
Look, you went in big win. First title you've ever had in MMA as well, and get to travel over to Tenerife. How was
it? Sorry, I lost you there again a little bit. Must be my signal. It was savage, unreal experience. It's another one added to the books. I'm 5-2 now, and every fight I've had has been abroad or facing some sort of adversity. So it's good. I feel well-rounded now through all the fights I've had, and I really felt like I got to show it over there during that fight.
A win like that against, you're going in as the away fighter, and against someone who's clear, he had a lot of talent. We could see it as well. He looked like a really tough opponent. What does that mean? And even to get the belt as well, that's always a nice addition to it. But what does that mean to you?
It means a lot. I was 4-2 heading over, and possibly having to go back to site now if I had lost this fight, and had to commit to not be able to commit to train as much as I was. I was really in a tight situation, and I've kind of got myself out of it a little bit. But it's a lot better now since I won that fight basically.
So if you don't mind me going into it, so if you're saying if you had a loss in that fight, there would have been it would have had implications on training moving forward and how you progress, is it?
Yeah, I would have probably pulled back a good bit. Why am I doing this? But the belt was a drive for me. It's the first time I've ever wanted to win something. Wanted to every other fight I've kind of showed up hoping I'd win, because you don't know the outcome of a fight. You can visualize everything you want, but you never know the outcome. So this time I just went in. I went in and just said I'm taking this belt this time, and I went just marching forward and showed what I can do, and I'm going to keep doing that now from now on.
And that must add, it must take a lot of pressure off your shoulders too, moving forward, and just having that little bit of ease to know that what you're doing is right as well, I imagine, is it?
Exactly, yeah. People have asked me from the fight, were you exhausted after punching? I said no, I jumped off him with relief, because just going out, getting hyped up to go out, I'm going out there. I went for the finish. I was ready for 5 rounds of war, but I got it done, and I'm showing I am a finisher, and I'm going to start doing that from now on. I'm a finisher. I'm not a take it to the judges person anymore, basically. Stephen,
you're currently balancing training full-time as a professional with your normal day-to-day job, is that correct?
In and out of a normal day-to-day job, and then when I'm committed to a camp, we get sponsors, which is difficult, as every fight I would know, but I'm fortunate enough to have found a few, which has given me more time in the gym, and my fiance is a big help as well at home. She supports me so well. So it's the people I have around me that's helped me put a lot of time into the gym. I'm very lucky, very grateful. I live a beautiful life. I feel I'm already rich in a sense, and now I feel like I'm a full fighter now, and I'm going to capitalise on it with every opportunity that's given to me now.
Good man. When was it? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Caoilte.
One thing with the fight I noticed in particular with you was compared to other fights, we've seen you. We've watched your fights since you've made your pro debut. But one thing that I noticed in this one is the striking has improved so well. The right hand was money. Every time that was landed, it looked like it hurt him. It really looked like it hurt him, and it was there was this real improvement looking, or maybe it just all came together in once. Was there something you kind of noticed in this fight against him that made you, or beforehand, that made you kind of emphasize on your striking a little bit more, try and take advantage of?
Just during like rounds down in SBG, like I'm always down there trying to improve, and I felt striking has always just held me back a bit. Like I just wasn't letting them go, being confident, being loose, pulling the trigger. But then I started working, over the years I've been working with Richard Caoilte. Do you know Richard Caoilte? Yeah, you know the lads, the face of Bellator.
Yeah, legend, Richard Caoilte.
That legend, yeah, he's a legend, all right. And we're just done a good, decent amount of the odd session with Richie, and he's just helped improve and given me confidence in my hands. Like that's what I was lacking in the most, the confidence. Like, but like if I hit people now, I'm starting to see them down, that energy depletes for every shot that I hit them with, and then I bring the other side of the game that I have now, the grappling and the jiu-jitsu, which is feel a high level now from the hours I've put in SVG. Like just the work's starting to show.
When you're putting in all these hours and you're going in now, this is the first, I believe it's the first time you've had to do 5 rounds as well. The adjustments between working as well and having to prepare for 5 rounds, does it take a toll and kind of a bit of a toll and tax on your body as well, preparing for those 5 rounds? As you said, that's a grueling amount of time to be in there, especially when you're only, 7 fights into your pro career? Yeah,
but I do 5 rounds every Monday down in John's with fresh opponent every round. Like it's training them, it's unbelievable. It's like that fight is much easier compared to a Monday on John's. Do you know what I mean? That's the way it is. But where was I going with that then? You said something there before that one. The question again.
About like how grueling that is and kind of preparing for it. You know, when you're balancing the job and you're balancing training, does it make it a bit tougher?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This camp, I got enough sponsors and time and support of people that I could actually commit to this camp. This one has been the best camp. I didn't stress about the weight, didn't stress about anything. I got the weight done, the best weight cut, the best refuel. Everything just went perfect this time, and I'm hoping to keep it. The only bad thing that happened is I woke up and my phone broke. That's the only thing that happened bad on that trip. Out of everything, I broke my phone. But then previous fights, like the one actually Reese, I was doing a job here in the house, and 3 days before we flew out to Memphis, I was pouring a concrete floor out here. I took on too much, and then that was short notice, and then I went over and had the worst weight cut, probably the worst refuel. Me and Peter Finn, and I went out and I feel a bit Ashley Reese on my worst day, and unfortunately it didn't go that way. And then I got a chance in Miami to try redeem myself against a fella knocking everyone out, a knockout artist. He was a tricky puzzle. I couldn't strike without. I had to figure that puzzle out. And then this one, I said I wanted that belt, and I just went for it. So the time that I committed into the gym with no work, it really showed up and paid off as well. So yeah, a full camp not having to work, I get a win like that, and then a full camp when I have to work, I lose against Ashley Reese. You know what I mean?
I can tell you with first-hand experience, Stephen, that pouring concrete is an unbelievable way to develop your strength and conditioning for sure, but not always ideal when you're going in and having to do the proper strength and conditioning in the gym as well after the fact.
Yeah, I'm years doing it now. I'm a qualified carpenter. Like I'm on site for years, and that's where the natural strength comes from. I think every man should get a trade and get that strength behind them before they go fighting.
100%. Was there a particular time that you can remember where you made the decision with yourself, Stephen, that I want to compete as a mixed martial artist? You remember the thought process leading into that? Did anybody influence you? Where did you find your love for combat sports?
I'd done a little bit of jiu-jitsu back when I was 15, 16, I think it was, in a gym called Spartan MMA in Tala. And then I was there for a while, then I fell out of it. And this for a couple of years. And then back when I turned 25, when Conor was making his momentum, I was watching it a bit more. And then the gym opened up in Tallaght from his success. So because of his success, the gym was right beside my house. And then I just started training there. And then the gym became my happy place, which still is. And then I showed there and keep trying to improve, and then being given opportunities. Every opportunity I've been given, I said, yeah, let's do it. Why not? Which, my pro debut, I was told to pull out because I was sick from Bellator, and that's what happened. Blew me low in the first round with no gas tank. But I took the chance. And here I am now.
You've been taking chances even since an amateur as well. Come up second fight as an amateur against Machado Gary as well, which is very, very interesting as well. So you were, given with your record, and look at amateur records, whatever, you had wins and losses, it doesn't really matter all that much. But I think for you, and it shows with your amateur record, you're going in there and giving yourself tough tests. And you're doing the exact same now in your professional ranks. So you feel that that's important for the development of you as a fighter, Stephen?
Yeah, defining my confidence, I guess. Yeah, and it's bringing out the true killer in me in a sense. You know what I mean? I'm not going in here fighting bums or like trying to get a name, build up for myself. I'm fighting whoever to get me to fight. And in my opinion, there's been no one easy on my my resume. People stood in, controversial, but still hard opponents.
100%.
With your fighting, you've one kind of common trend is like you've fought more times abroad than you have in Ireland across amateur and pro. I think you've 2 times as many fights in different countries than you have in Ireland. So you seem to be quite a lot of the time the away fighter. Like in this one, you were definitely the away fighter in Tenerife with one of their home lads. Combate against the lad from Mexico, because it's a Latin American promotion, and then there's one in Serbia as well. Do you kind of thrive off that situation where you're going in as the away fighter against these lads?
I enjoy it. I do. Like I enjoy there's less pressure when you go away. You just show up to this place, to give you a hotel, let you chill out for a day, and then you go fight that lad. And like I've been looked after by every promotion. It's been a great experience. Like it's really helped with preparing for the fight game. Like what's involved at the top level, which I'm hoping to get to. So I'm well trained in every aspect of fighting now.
When it comes to fighting as well, you're seeing all these different countries. You've seen Serbia, Malta, Spain, America. Like God, it's mad. Like, is it something you wanted to achieve when you first started out as a pro, to see all these countries and fight abroad as well as kind of progress?
I had no idea. I didn't think the outcome would be this. But so soon as well. It just happened so fast. I'm 31 now. And I've started when I was 26. And I've travelled all these places now, and I'm only getting started. I'm in my prime now, and there's many more locations to travel to. The IMAS was a big help for me, more than anything. Like if you're ever going to be an MMA fighter or like amateur as well, the goal should be IMAFs. Get there, represent your country, because you go travel abroad and then you'll fight multiple days. So like you see people in halls and rooms that you're going to be fighting, and just get used to it. And then when you turn pro, you fly somewhere and you fight one person, and then get paid. Hopefully, all right money as well. Hopefully someday.
I remember your IMAF days, because just as you mentioned it, because obviously you went to Bahrain. I know you fought. The name escapes me. One of the top lads there, and I remember in the World Cup, it was announced that you were signed for Bellator, and I remember you fought Caoilte as well. Fighting these lads that are from different countries, different styles. I know Hazem's this high level grappler, for example. Does that really help you progress and become more confident in your own skills before you go pro? Anyone that I've never fought in any of them IMAFs, I never really thought like who they are or what they do. Like we're all amateurs here representing our country, and I know what I do on a daily basis. They're not doing anything different. I'm training, you're training. We're here to compete. So an opponent wouldn't really faze me, and that's the mindset I have now. Any opponent, like I bring what I bring to the table, and I'm going to keep improving what I bring, and they have to deal with that. Like that's the kind of mindset I'm in with this fighting.
With that performance, in your last fight, I think, you know, what you just said there, you know, you're just concentrating on yourself and your development. I think, you know, we were all in agreement when we seen that last fight when you picked up the TKO win over Alexander Mikael. It was the best performance of your career, the most well-rounded performance of your career. And we would love the opportunity to kind of talk through that fight and what you were thinking of your game plan going in, how you implemented it during the fight as well, because, you know, we had seen you being very dominant in grappling exchanges before, but you definitely came into this fight with the most well-rounded game that we've seen you with to date. What was the game plan coming in against a guy like Alexander Mikael? And, you know, obviously you said coming in behind enemy lines and stuff like that. There's that little bit of extra pressure too, that, you know, if it does go to the scorecards as well, are they going to kind of give it a kind of a hometown decision? Like, you know, not saying it would have happened, but, you know, we've seen it happen before. But you left it all out of the hands of the judges. Second round TKO. Was the game plan coming in, Stephen? And were you happy how the fight played out in reality, as in terms of what you were kind of visualizing before the fight happened?
I was thinking it's going to be, it could have been 5 rounds, and I definitely probably wouldn't have got the nod in the end. We were warned by a local gym that we trained in over there that we have to get the finish as well, that corrupt possibly. But like, I'm not saying anything bad about them, but like that was the situation. So getting the TKO, the finish the way I did, I was very happy. At the end of the first round, I was very happy as well. Standing in my corner fresh, he's on the chair. And usually that used to be my situation back in the beginning. Conditioning wasn't great, but I have the conditioning on point now, and I would have been ready for the 5, but I found the finish. And like, I don't really have plans when I fight. I just go in and I try find the situation that I'm going to get the finish in, which is many situations.
For sure. And that's a very, very smart way to kind of look at it. For me, your jab was very, very important in this fight. It set up, you know, other punches for you, set up the takedowns as well. And, you know, obviously, you know, you went in there and mixed it up early, had the takedown stuffed early as well, didn't kind of drain any confidence. But I'm assuming, you know, going for takedowns doesn't necessarily mean you have to get the takedowns. It's more so putting the idea in, like, a guy like Alexander Mikael's head. Okay, this guy is going to be looking for the takedown, but that in some ways can open up your striking as well. Is that what you're kind of trying to implement in the fight?
Yeah, like overload them with information. Like, what am I doing? Feints, little subtle feints, like the hands are up, they're down, like feinting, like to overload them with information and adding takedowns in, even up against the cage, like adding it all in. Like, he's a striker. Why would I stand out in the middle and take more than calf kicks he hit me with? Like, the worst kicks I've ever had in the calf, and I'm glad I didn't take any more.
That's for sure. I bet. Yeah, they're nasty.
They're
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
What's the plan now then? Because I know it's all the wins taking a lot of pressure off you. You have the belt. Does that mean, are you going back to that promotion next? Do you have to defend that? Yeah, show us that.
There it is. The champ is here. It's a great belt.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
I love it.
You have to go back and defend that now. Or what's the plan with it?
It's a lovely belt.
If they offer me nice championship money, I'll go back over. But I'm on standby. I'm waiting for a call for anything now at this stage. I'm not going to try balloon up. That's been a problem previously. Like, Miami was just before Christmas, fought there, ballooned up 90-something kilos walking around. So I'm going to try avoid getting fat and just be ready for any phone call that comes to me.
All these promotions you fought on as well, is there any that you kind of have your eye on, or is it just taking opportunities that come up? Now you have a belt as well. Do you think there might be a chance you could fight for one in another promotion?
Like, everyone wants to get to the UFC. Like, that would be a great goal. Like, the guy take the fight if I got one. Bellator, yeah, like PFL. There's so many there that I could try get to. Like, but I'm just really, like, I'll take what's there. Whatever the situation I end up in is going to be better than what I'm in now. And anyway, so I just have to keep training and keep fighting and keep winning, and I'm going to put myself into a better situation in life, and that's my ultimate goal.
Well, I definitely think that you deserve an opportunity. You know, you're going out there, you're taking the tough tests. You went out to Tenerife, you know, behind enemy lines, like I said, won the title. So, I mean, at this stage, I think I'd be very surprised if something didn't happen for you over maybe the rest of the year, or maybe next year as well. You know, obviously you said the UFC is your goal, that's your aspiration as well. But you're not completely ruling out, if PFL came in with an offer, we've got a London card coming up. Obviously, the Dublin card is right around the corner. It might be a little bit too soon, but you're just telling any big promotions that are out there that are keeping eyes on you. The door is open for everybody here. You're willing to take any opportunity that's thrown your way.
Come give me a nice offer, and I'll come put on some serious fights for you, especially with the mindset I'm in now. It's all there for the taking, and I'm just going to keep fighting hard and take. That's what I want. Like, I just want to have a nice retirement, be able to sit down with a glass of red wine when I finish all this dangerous shit, chill out with the missus. Like it's just looking for a happy ending in a way, and whoever offers me a happy ending, I'll take it.
Hang a few more belts up on the wall.
I'm actually not allowed to hang them up.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, not yet. I think if I win a few more, she can't deny it then. Yeah, it will look well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know one thing I noticed recently is it wasn't always MMA for you, was it? Because I know you said you started there kind of full time, or going for it at about 2015 at time when you were 25. It was you used to do a bit of rugby, wasn't it?
Yeah, I played rugby union for many teams, and I played a lot of rugby league for Irish students at a decent, high enough level. Like, could have went to England at one stage to play rugby league, but didn't happen. But I'm actually happy I didn't hear everything. But yeah, the rugby league days are good, and that's kind of where I first learned I could throw a punch. So
I said there were a few times on the pitch.
I'll get a video sent out to you. We're playing against a team, a Scottish team, a winger scoring all the tries down the wing. I'm in the centre in rugby league. So I went over, tackled him a few times, got a little dirty in the wrestle and a few face rubs. He stood up and kind of started instigating something, and I learned how to throw a 1-2 that day, and we went on to win the match after. He got taken off and I got taken off. So I'll send you the video. I don't really want to get cancelled straight away.
Right. That's fair. We want to have you on again down the line.
Yeah, probably edit that. Okay?
So what you're telling us now is rugby league is the best base for mixed martial arts now.
Tackle people and then you wrestle them. You have to wrestle them, hold them. Like, so it is good. Like, I would recommend it. Yeah, if you're afraid
yeah, have you picked up more cauliflower ear now playing rugby or doing jiu-jitsu or grappling?
I never got cauliflower ear playing rugby. I played flanker as well. I was going to cheat. I never binded, so that's probably why I never had the ear.
That's good.
That's class.
You play rugby yourself, Brian? Did you?
Cheers, I would. I get disintegrated.
Too small for rugby.
Yeah, I would get disintegrated if I played on a rugby field, that's for sure.
Scrum half.
Maybe. Definitely not now anyway. I'm too fucking old to do anything at this stage. I barely get down the stairs, so I can, but it's all good. So
if you saunas and a bit of yoga, you'd be brand new.
100%.
Maybe tag rugby, that's the closest you get us to it. But
that's good crack as well. During the summer's day, a bit of tag rugby. That's good crack. Play again.
Do you play like anything now, or even just for a bit of crack every now and again, just hop back in and play again?
I wouldn't mind going. I'm watching the World Cup and stuff. I love to just throw a ball around and just have the crack playing the game, but it's too much risk to reward. And I've also been trying to skateboard here and there, and I think I've had the worst injuries possible from them. Like, I tore a groin trying to skateboard. Had a bad elbow for months of skateboarding. It's done more damage than MMA at this stage. So I won't do that now for a while.
It's always the stuff outside of fighting. But look, we've kept your 23 minutes now. But what's before we let you go, how soon do you expect to be back in there? When can we expect to see you back in the cage and delivering performances and collecting belts like we've seen in the last one?
I've been told to be on standby. So I'm on standby for possibly something. But I don't really, I won't say anything else, but I've been told to be on standby, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to stay sharp, stay ready, and take whatever comes.
Brilliant. If there was any message that you wanted to deliver to any promotions out there and what you could bring to that promotion, what would you tell them?
keep watching, and then they can't deny me with what I'm going to keep doing, and I'll take another fight or two, but I'm worth signing, and I could become an Irish star in whatever promotion it is. But I missed the opportunity. I'm 21, I'm in my prime, and I'm ready to fight any man that's put in front of me, and my record will show that. Any welterweight willing to make 77 kilos, I'll meet you in a cage and I'll fight you. So that's the mindset I'm in, and I'd like to let the promotions know that. So thank you for. Hopefully it reaches a few of them.
Yeah, hopefully it does. I think you'll be a welcome addition to a lot of the promotions there too. I think you've paid your dues now, even though you are still early in your professional career. You picked up a title already. You've challenged yourself all across the world. You know, honestly, I think, you know, it'd be foolish if one of the big promotions in Europe or anywhere across the world didn't want to pick you up, Stephen. We really appreciate the time coming to speak with us today. Hopefully it's not the first or last. Oh, you have one last thing.
I'm going to do anyone. Who does these brilliant montages on Instagram that we've managed to get a feature in, because we absolutely love him, and he deserves a shout out, this fella.
He's a good man. Stephen Kearns is his name. He's a good friend himself. Met him through the jiu-jitsu scene, kind of, and he's been a good addition to the team. He's real supportive in all aspects of the fighting, the training, and it's an added bonus that he's unreal at the video edits. Like, you ask him to make it a video and he whips it together immediately. He's like an artist. Like, it's a talent.
The most recent one from Tenerife I absolutely loved. I think especially the ending with the celebrations.
Yeah.
The champers on the balcony was pretty cool as well. Yeah. It was good. I was actually going to give you a hard time about losing your phone over there too. You're probably not the first Irish fella, nor will you be the last Irish fella to lose a phone out in Tenerife. I'd say the other phones have been lost out there during other different kind of activities on maybe drinking holidays or whatever. It's
I'm back in 2 weeks. I'm back in July on a family holiday. So leading up to this fight, I was saying, I better win this fight, or I'll be having my head down over there on my holidays.
Oh man, it'd be an awful holiday. Yeah, it'd be an awful holiday if you had to go back if you had a loss. Jeez.
I'm going back as the king of the island now, so it's
there you go. Bring that. Hey, if I don't see pictures of you wearing that belt right beside the pool, I'll be very disappointed.
Deal. I'll tag you in it.
100%. 100%.
Lovely. Thanks a million for joining us, Stephen.
King of the island. Who wants it? Sound like the internet is starting, but yeah, thanks very much for the time, and I really appreciate the support you are always giving me, so thank you very much.
We can't wait to see you back in there. Thanks very much. Have a good one.
We said we were going to talk about IÚR Fighting Championships last podcast. It was on at the time we were recording, so unfortunately we can't split ourselves in two. We wanted to cover it properly, and that's what we're going to do right now. Big featherweight title fight at the top of the card. Michael Shields defeated Jade Paulo by unanimous decision, 29-28 on all three judges' scorecards there, who Michael Shields retains his title in a very, very good fight at the top of the card. And we'll talk about that and a couple of other fights as well. Obviously, let's start here. Talk us through the fight, Andy. What you thought of it, the ins and outs of it. Obviously, did you agree with it? We got kind of into nitty gritty about scorecards and controversy around scorecards on the last podcast. It drew a bit of reaction, all right, but no real drama around the scorecards here, really, in this main event, was there?
There was no real drama around it, but it was the exact type of fight where there could have been loads of drama around this, because it was a really, really close fight. I thought that you know, both lads kind of negated each other in many areas at various points throughout the fight. The first round, Paulo was kind of using his kicks well, landing a few leg kicks and teeps early. Shields kind of set up a nice entry into a takedown, but Paulo reversed it and was controlling against the cage for a good bit. And the two lads were landing shots, like Shields had his back against the cage and was landing a lot of kind of like, you know, pot shots to try and score and things like that. But neither were really landing a huge amount. So it was a really close round. And then off the break at the end, there was a high kick. Now I couldn't actually see if it connected to Shields' face or not, but Jed threw a high kick and it sounded like it connected somewhere in the body anyway. And I'd say he probably just nicked that first round. The second round was another closely contested one. Shields had a nice jab early, threw the body kick, but Paulo ended up getting the fight to the mat, was controlling half guard against the cage for a lot of it. Shields got up with a guillotine, got a trip takedown, follow-up shots, shoulder strikes by Paddy. I'm actually reading my notes now.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Because I honestly, just my memory is so fucking shit. I watched these fights like an hour ago and I've already forgotten them. But anyway, it was another close round. I would say that's what it could have gone either way. I'd say Shields just nicked it. And then again, I'd say the third round was like 1 and 3 really, where I thought 1 was Paolo's, 3 was Shields. The second one, I gave it to Shields, but it really could have gone either way. So a really, really close fight. They fought before and Paolo won the first fight. So we could end up seeing a trilogy here between the two lads. And like it was, again, a razor close fight. But I think that the judges got the scorecards right in this one.
Yeah, 100%. You feel the same, Caoilte? What did you think of both lads' performances?
Yeah, look, 2 of the highest level lads in Ireland at the weight class, and Decky's matchmaking is second to none really, and this one proved it once again, worthy of a title fight. 2 top lads, and great to see Mike. Great to see Mike put on a good performance, and Jedi put it up to him. I was delighted to see the fight, and look forward to whatever's next, and for the IÚR cards. I don't know if they announced the next one yet, did they?
There was rumors of one later on this year. I saw
they did. I'll pull up the event. We can shout it out at the end of this, but I'll pull it up. I think it's let's just do it now. 15th.
Yeah, we do it at the end. Caoilte, I'll go to you for Jordan Scully. Obviously, no judges needed in this result. First round submission via rear naked choke from Jordan Scully, who continues, the comeback trail. Obviously had a tough sequence of fights there. Picked up a win in his last fight, coming in, picking up a win here against Alex Fagan. Very impressive stuff by the SBG Nace man.
It's mad. The main event was a rematch. Co-main event was also a rematch. The 2 lads, they fought, I think it was Jordan's one, fourth, it was his 5th fight, and that was also at IÚR Fighting Championships on the 4th card they had. So a rematch this time before the belt, and no judges needed, as you mentioned. Jordan, we know how good his grappling is, and he got the back early in this fight, and once he took the back of Fagan, there was no shaking him really. And I think there was a point there where Fagan stood up to try and somehow get this lad off him, but it wasn't happening. Body triangle was in, and Scully got the rear naked choke. I think at one point Fagan gave the referee a thumbs up, but that cranker, the crush on the face was just looked too much and forced the tap. It was right next to the camera that they were on the stream, and it looked nasty now as well. Like my face hurt looking at it. So he's on quite the roll now. Is Jordan? What's that? European gold medal and
5th win in a row.
Yeah, and a title, unbelievable.
Yeah,
all in 1 year.
And you remember he had the last time at IÚR, he won the interim title against Sam Simon in a fight where he really had to dig deep. Like Simon was landing a lot of damage, and he got the comeback submission there. So a really great string of form, especially since he's moved over to SBG Nace there. Indeed.
One of the performances of the night, Roman David, obviously a big fan of this guy from Team KF. I'm ever since I saw him from the very early stages, I was very, very impressed with his striking. Showcased a good well-roundedness in this fight too. Obviously very slick on the feet. Andy picked up a nice takedown in round 1, super dominant round 1 to set the bar here heading into rounds 2 and rounds 3. Went out there, got the decision win, obviously by unanimous decision, 30-27, 26 on one of the cards as well. You'd agreed with it. Was the round 1 was a 10-8, I guess. Super impressive performance. Second title in 3 weeks after picking up the Budo title. He picked up the vacant welterweight title as well. We should mention Jordan Scully was for the lightweight title as well. This for the vacant welterweight title. Super impressive stuff from Roman David, Andy.
I tell you what, I was saying a minute ago that I was reading from my notes because I have a bad memory, but I remember this fight very, very well. Roman David, I don't know if it's David or David, so apologies if I'm saying it wrong, but my God, this lad looks like a serious talent, and he really looks like he's coming on strong. Like, he was using his striking incredibly well early, and the speed really impressed me, but also how he mixed everything up. He was sliding in and out of range. You know, Shea Latham's a solid fighter, a skillful fighter, but like David just looked first to the punch with each of them. At one point, he was setting up his strikes, but then he kind of just teased a single leg and then immediately came over the top with a really, really solid left hook. And from there, he you know, even though he's winning the striking exchanges, he decides to get the body lock, take it down. And I thought that this fight could have been stopped at a certain point. Now Shea Latham did a brilliant job of he was always kind of constantly moving and changing his position and trying to intelligently defend himself, whether it was, you know, if, you know, at one point Roman had him flattened out on the back and was landing really, really heavy shots. So he gave up mount, things like this. He shook him off at one point. But yeah, like I thought it was a 10-8 round in the first, and you don't see those too often in amateur MMA. I thought that, you know, I agree with the one judge that gave the 30-26. The second and the third round, there was questions going into the second of, you know, how do both fighters react, because Latham has just taken a lot of damage here, but also David has, you know, he's unloaded his clip on him, but neither looks like they wilted really. And I thought that Latham did a great job of kind of recovering, but ultimately it was Roman's grappling. He would take him down repeatedly. He wasn't landing as much damage in the second or third round. Both of them kind of went in a similar fashion, but you know, 2 clear-cut 10-9s, and yeah, look, just a really, really solid win for Roman David. As you mentioned, he's already picked up a title 3 weeks prior with a first round finish. So this is a guy who really looks to be blossoming and taking a step forward after, you know, taking his losses as well along the way at amateur.
Coming into his own as a fighter too, obviously mixing in the grappling and too. Such a smooth striker, and when you mix in that grappling, obviously that opens up your striking as well. So look, I'm always excited when I see his name on a card. So fair play to him. That's a great win, and congrats on the title. Evan Horgan defeated Oisín Daly Caoilte by a second round sub. A Von Flue choke, crazy sequence of events here that led us to the finish. You'll have seen an unusual choke, excellently called as always too by Paul Brown on the comms, as well as Andrew McGahan. But this was a lovely little finish, wasn't it, Caoilte?
The entire sequence, I think before we hopped on, the first thing I said, sequence to this is just, it's so cool, and it's rare enough to see it. Obviously, it was the crucifix position at first for and geez, who was on top? Evan Horgan. He had the Evan Horgan the crucifix position. Then it was reversed. Oisín Daly got over into side control. We had a guillotine attempt from Oisín Daly, and Evan Horgan jumps over and straight into the jump over. Christ, my memory's gone, boys. But anyway, he gets the Von Flue, and gets over in side control, gets the Von Flue, and Oisín Daly doesn't let go of that guillotine and kind of leaves himself, you know, vulnerable for that choke. Evan Horgan spotted it, locked it in, and it was at the bell. The referee didn't notice. It's just when the bell goes, he lets go and he's out cold on the mat. But thankfully he's okay. He seemed to respond fairly quickly. So, you know, health's the most important thing. So it's good to see he was okay afterwards. But also, like, what a series of events and what a win for Evan Horgan. Really, really impressed him. The fight in general was really fun too. The first round was great crack.
100%. Just run through, Andy. I'll bring you in for the thoughts on the Von Flue choke as well. Just run through real quick. 4 wins on the bounce for Horgan now coming into this. Other notable fights on the card. Russ Georgie took out Yusuf Ukusin, first round knee bar there as well. Now 5-0, all submissions, a bit of a submission specialist there in Russ Georgie. Brendan Brannigan defeated Jake Gilpin by unanimous decision, 29-28 in all 3 judges' scorecards. Going back to the Von Flue choke, Andy, including the next 2 fights as well. Quick thoughts on those?
Yeah, but not about the Von Flue itself, but that fight was brilliant. I was really enjoying that Daly Horgan fight, and you know, it was a very close first round where they were both kind of they both were giving each other their licks, but there was at one point where Daly in the second was really coming on strong, and then, you know, obviously Horgan gets the finish in the end, but a really entertaining fight to watch, and fair play to both lads. Roos George, we were waxing lyrical about this guy only a few weeks ago when he last fought. He was going in here against Yusuf Okusin, and Okusin was winning the striking exchanges early in this fight. He was looking really, really good, landing some nice leg kicks as well. And I thought it showed a great fight IQ of George to try and engage the grappling. And he rolled into the knee bar, and from there, that was really it. So, he's a guy who is still very, very early in his amateur career. The striking probably isn't as good as his grappling is, but he has an ability to, when he's in a situation where maybe he's not winning the exchanges, to be able to switch up a fight at the drop of a hat. And I was really, really impressed yet again by this guy. And then Brendan Brannigan, a solid win. It was a back and forth bit of a war, and he was getting the hairdryer treatment at times from Chris Fields in this fight, but an entertaining fight, a good win. There was a buggy choke attempt in the first round, which almost was wild from Gilpin, and a really solid fight. Brannigan almost got the head and arm in the second as well. It was just a little bit too close to the cage, I think. So he ended up giving it up for a mount, but ended up getting the win on the judges' scorecards.
Perfect. Nice one. Another solid card again. Fair play to Decky and the lads, always putting on a solid show up there at IÚR Fighting Championships. Did you get that date of the next show, Andy?
Yeah, it's 15th of September, I believe. 15th September.
Little bit away from that. Anyway, moving on. Let's chat some PFL Newcastle. If you're watching, you'll notice we are one man short. If you're listening, you're not going to hear the smooth, subtle tones of Andy Stevenson here. He's off in fucking Africa feeding giraffes. Caoilte left us here to round off the Owl Triangle podcast. We were glad to have him joined up before he took off to share some news about Bellator and stuff, but he's over there gallivanting in Africa feeding giraffes and trying to steer away from headbutts of giraffes, it seems, as well. It's well for him, ain't it?
I was gonna say, yeah, he might end up fighting a few giraffes if one of those headbutts starts landing. 1 point deduction, get Andy Stevenson there, might win. But I'd say he'll come back with one hell of a tan after that. Now I'm jealous.
He surely will. Very, very jealous. Off on his honeymoon, we wish himself and his lovely wife Michaela the best of times over there. Well deserved break for them. But we'll get into it. Like I said, PFL Newcastle last weekend. Lots of Irish interest on the card. We want to go through the best of the action here. We'll start off with the co-main event, Dylan Tuke versus Kane Musa. A fantastic win for Dylan Tuke. Picked up the unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28 on two judges' scorecards as well. Brilliant win for him. All in all, Caoilte. Not the most fan-friendly fights. He fought a very tactical game plan on the outside, like you said he was going to do. And I mean, that's what you got to do against a guy like Kane Musa. I mean, Musa carries some big power. You ain't going to be trading in the pocket with him. So I think the execution of the game plan was very well. Made it, somewhat of a closer fight, in my opinion. I know Dylan kind of disagreed a little bit, but we'll get into that in just a minute. What were your thoughts on the fight, the performance, everything about that from Dylan Tuke? Great to see him back. 2 wins in a row now from the Nuke. And onwards and upwards for the Glasgow card for him. Yeah,
it's the first time he's had back-to-back wins since 2016 now. And like the performance itself, look, the most important thing in fighting, is getting in, getting out, get the win. Main thing, all about in terms of the fight itself. Look, it wasn't the most fan-friendly. I feel like he implemented the game plan very well, considering what he said and how the result played out. I think it was a lot. I know it was a unanimous decision. I was expecting it to be very honest, I expected it to be a split decision. I would have hated to be a judge in that one. The first and third round kind of made that, I couldn't call it, to be honest. Second round was clearly his. The first, complete toss of a coin, in my opinion. It was, I think John McCarthy was between rounds, and even he was suggesting it's one of those, you could have said it was a 10-10 round nearly. But very, very close. But either way, it was still a good win. Probably not but closer than the judges' scorecards may have suggested, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of agree with your assessment as well. And look at everything that Dylan had been through in the camp, obviously dealing with the loss of his mother, bearing the weight of all of that too. Look at going in there, getting the win was the most important thing of all. And he did that against a really dangerous guy in Kane Musa too. So max amount of respect to him. Kind of had a little bit of a disagreement with him on Twitter over the scores. He believed that it was more one-sided than what I thought, maybe, and another couple of people thought as well. The judge scorecards on paper, obviously, 1 30-27 and 2 29-28. But for me, I do take great pride in knowing how to score fights and putting the work in to have conversations with people that are way more in the know with me to try and decipher who's won and lost fights. When that fight was happening live, I have a level of respect for scoring fights where I didn't even feel confident to live score that. Now, when I watched it back and I seen it, and I had an inkling at the time, I did agree with what you said. Round 1 for Dylan Tuke, without a doubt, was close, but I gave it to him. I mean, when judges are looking at fights based off the information and the conversations I've been having, what you're looking for is, in the first main criteria, is impactful striking and grappling as well. But we got in that first round, maybe 3.5 minutes in, Cain Moussa landed very little as well. That has to be said. So along with Dylan was, fighting on the outside. He threw a calf kick. There was a striking exchange, one strike maybe traded on each side. There's not too much there for judges to score. Like, they're looking for some action. They're looking for something to score. And unfortunately, in the modern day judging, back in the day, you would have gotten more credence for, controlling of the grappling sequences and stuff like that. And by all means, Dylan did that excellently well throughout this fight, especially in round 1. And I think, it was the takedown and the damage that was landed at the very end of the round for me that got Dylan over the line for that. But, if he had simply taken the fight down and not landed any damage, that might have been a little bit closer. If Cain Moussa had landed a couple of more strikes as the round went on, I thought that round 1 would have been a lot closer. And it really was. With all due respect to Dylan, like, he has every right to disagree with me. There's no hard feelings from my end, but I want to kind of share how I seen it. I think it's a good opportunity to do it now. But with round 1, I thought it was a close round, but Dylan definitely deserved to get the nod in that. Round 2, the clearest round of the fight, in my opinion, a clear Dylan Tuke round, got the fight down a lot quicker, controlled, made Cain Moussa work, landed some damage. No dramas there with me over round 2. Round 3, I thought a really close round as well. That I kind of leaned towards Cain Moussa. Did accept the takedown as much as he did in rounds 1 or 2. Got back to the feet, landed a few strikes. Dylan landed a few strikes of his own, and I felt, barely that Cain Moussa got that fight, and I scored at 29-28 for me. But Dylan kind of has a different perspective. He was in there. It's, like I said, it's his right, Caoilte. But I think, there is this kind of opinion maybe out there that, control wins fights, but it doesn't really win fights, Caoilte, in modern mixed martial arts. What do you think?
Yeah, it's sure, like we've seen before. You listen to Sean quite a bit, and the amount of work he's done. Obviously, spoken to you guys about it as well. And damage is kind of the key indicator of trying to win the fight, especially when there's not much to go off. You're clutching at straws, trying to score of who wins. And damage is key. But look, that I still think at the end of the day, I still think he did win. I would have scored for him either way, but I said earlier, I do think it was very close, and it could have gone either way with maybe a few other strikes. I imagine you agree with that as well. All things said about the fight, and I think there's a lot of chatter because of how it played out, the style of fight it was. I love the energy from him. Even throughout the fight, the chatting, he just brings something a little bit different. He's infectious, absolutely infectious with kind of the energy he brings before the fight. During, chatter to the referee, must be a nightmare for the ref. And then afterwards, he's there like, I won. And he's just like, yeah, referee's telling him to engage more. And he's just like, no. He does it on his own terms. And I love it. I love that from him. The fact that he is himself in there as well. And he just sticks by what he says.
Absolutely. It always is entertaining to see Dylan Tuke fighting. And look at, he said to me I needed to get a scoring lesson. I got to stand my ground a little bit. I got to stand my ground here. I do a lot of work behind the scenes. I do feel I have somewhat of an educated opinion when it comes to scoring as well. And, that's the hard thing about scoring fights and judging fights, is that people's opinions and perspectives are changing a little bit. But, with all due respect to Dylan too, no hard feelings. Like I said, a fantastic performance. But leave what you said, the fact that the referee was, calling for action too, kind of showcases that there wasn't too much action taking place, which, obviously if there's no action taking place, well then, there's nothing really to judge or score. So, I mean, nips and tucks, and I think, I don't know, he might not even be listening to this. He might not even care what I have to say, but I'll always share my opinion and how I look at it. I'll always respect his opinion. And if he wants to disagree with it, that's all well and good. But look, I have maximum respect to Dylan too, what he's done in his career. He's an OG of Irish mixed martial arts. Always enjoy watching him fight. I'm enjoying to see him fighting on that card in Glasgow as well. I'll always call it as it is, call it down the line. I thought it was a close fight, and I stand by that. And that's it. But in fair play to him, he got the job done. And that was a tough test, and it's good to see him on a 2-fight win streak. And it opens up an opportunity for him to get a pretty big fight in Glasgow as well, Caoilte.
It does, yeah. I think it almost guarantees his spot on the card, and it should guarantee his spot on that card. He's training in Scotland now. He's definitely got a fan base up there. He trains with the likes of Stevie Ray, who's going to be on the card. I imagine Mark Ewan will get on the card as well. It just makes sense. And whatever people want to say about how the fight goes, he wins. That's the main thing. And there's a real tactical kind of side to what he was doing. He was frustrating Cain Moussa, trying to make him force him inside, land his strike, land some strikes in the inside, get the takedown, and then have his way on the ground. And the game plan worked, and I think it goes a little bit under the it went a little bit under the radar how Dylan approached it with frustrating Cain Moussa and getting those takedowns, and land even in the final round he's landing those little knees in the inside as well when Cain Moussa trying to press him against the cage. So I think that stuff definitely went a bit maybe goes a bit unnoticed when people are looking at the fight overall. But look, yeah, he's almost a sure thing for Glasgow. I can't wait to see him on it. I think with a win over a name like Cain Moussa, you should be knocking on some decent opportunity next, most definitely. And I hope Dan Hardy gives him one. Yeah,
100%. It's a similar enough approach that we did see against Conor Hughes as well. That on the outside, picking your shots, excellently timed. I tweeted that out before the fight. I expected him exactly to do that. And by me calling it a close fight, I hope he doesn't think that I'm trying to take away from what a good win it was, and that you got to go in there against such a power puncher against Cain Moussa and implement a game plan like that too. So all the credit in the world to Dylan Tuke. Fair play to him. And he moves on to another big fight in Glasgow. A couple of other things that we'll break down on the card. Obviously, a little bit of Irish interest in terms of Dee Begley. Obviously, she made her PFL debut. Tough couple of days for Dee again. Missed weight by 5 pounds. Went into the fight -1, and obviously submitted some of her purse as well, Caoilte. Going in there, obviously after a miss 1 point down already, kind of probably puts a little bit more pressure on you to try and go out there and get a finish. And she came in there against a very, very good fighter in Paulina Wisniewska, and she found that test to be a little bit too much on the night as well. But she had some good moments in the fight, Caoilte, but ultimately, Paulina showed that she was just a little bit better on the feet, and it was a nice finish in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really wasn't Dee's week, was it? The weight miss and everything surrounding that, and then going in against Paulina, who looked like Dee had bright moments, bright spells, but Paulina is just, that's a different level of fire that I saw when she was an amateur fighter, and she went in against Paulina probably at her best at that moment in time, and just wasn't meant to be. It's a tough week all around. So look, hopefully she managed to sort things out. Hopefully she's all right as well, because when you're missing weight and then you're getting finished, there's a health side of things as well that you hope that someone's all right. But hopefully there's another opportunity somewhere down the line, be it on PFL or a promotion somewhere else in Europe or in the world, that we get to see her on.
Big time. Valentina Scatizzi picked up a fantastic win, defeating Marie Loiseau by unanimous decision that marked her advancement to the semi-finals of the flyweight tournament. Another dogged performance from Valentina here, obviously fighting out of SBG. She likes getting down and gritty in these kind of fights, and it's very hard to kind of match the tenacity that she brings in there, Caoilte.
Oh, she does. She didn't have it easy in there, but she's tough out, isn't she? And goes in there and just closes the distance. The range, you could see the range was fairly significant compared to Lewis Sauer or something. I can't remember if I'm probably saying that wrong. But she really gets in the face and makes it a really ugly fight for her opponent and tries to tire them out. Yeah, she's tough out now, I must admit. It was a good win for her, wasn't it?
Very, very good win. Very, very good win. Sets up a semi-final date with her, with Chanel Dyer, obviously, who had her own impressive performance, a savage head kick knockout there. And that's a mouth-watering clash. I mean, Valentina Scatizzi coming in there as the more experienced of the two, but Chanel Dyer is a serious talent. And, you know, you would look at it from the outside in, you know, thinking that Valentina does have the style to kind of get over somebody like Chanel in terms of, you know, I don't think the route here is standing at distance and trying to trade strikes with someone like Chanel Dyer. I think you kind of got in, close the distance, kind of create those clinch exchanges, put Chanel up against the cage, get her frustrated, maybe even take a Dylan Tuke approach perhaps, you know what I mean? Just fight extremely on the outside and try to time takedowns. I mean, there ain't nothing wrong with that at all. But very, very excited to see that fight will actually go down in Glasgow as well. Let's talk about Matisse Sarahov's and Lewis McGrillen Evans. Obviously, Lewis McGrillen picked up the unanimous decision on all three judges' scorecards. I thought Matisse did very well early here in terms of, you know, implementing the stylistic game plan to keep away from the big left hand of McGrillen, which is an absolute nightmare to deal with. Fought well on the outside, came in lovely with jabs, 1-2s, calf kicks, mixed up the grappling quite well in round one. I think Matisse found himself, Caoilte, on the back foot for the majority of the fight, and it's very difficult, to be honest, to fight a fight on the back foot, going backwards all times and fending off your opponent. And I think eventually the kind of grind of the fight got to him, and kind of, you know, he's seen him kind of die out of the fight a little bit, getting a little bit tired, but was always competitive throughout the 15 minutes, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was one of those fights. I at any moment it could have changed. Like, you know, the momentum of the fight could have changed. It was just one of those. It was highly entertaining now, if anything, and it was a bit of a war at times as well. Two lads were landing, and Matisse had quite a bit of success himself. I think the pace of the fight was catching up a bit near the end of that third round. Obviously, Lewis McGrillen Evans got the back at one point, and screaming out because that he can grapple as well.
Yeah,
very funny moment. But look,
there's a lot of mental warfare ahead of this fight. I mean, the two of them are chirping. Matisse was, you know, calling them one-dimensional and everything like that. So, you know, that either gets in your head and affects you, or it gets in your head and it motivates you. And it seemed to kind of do the latter for Lewis McGrillen there, in terms of, you know, landing some big shots. Obviously opened up the cut and Matisse, and Matisse did some damage himself, it has to be said. But yeah, it was the mixing it up, I think, from Lewis McGrillen, proving he just doesn't have a left hand. He can get in for takedowns. He took the back of Matisse as well, and showed he's well-rounded really overall, and it helped him get the judges nod as well overall, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. He was McGrillen was, you know, he's living up to that hype. You know, I know he was coming in off a loss. He probably had a lot to prove, and then that, you know, this was a spicy fight from the moment it was made. The two of them going back and forth, the build up. It was one of those. It was hard not to be excited for. But Matisse was a brilliant dance partner for McGrillen. They both delivered for the fans, and I think that's enough for Matisse to get another opportunity in PFL. I imagine he's going to get another fight on there eventually, and I imagine that they're gonna continue to promote him the way they have, and probably end up he's on the Glasgow card now, I'd say. I imagine. Wouldn't be surprised either way.
I would be surprised if he wasn't either now. So yeah, onwards and upwards for Lewis McGrillen, and I agree with you. I think Matisse should get another opportunity under PFL. One of the performances of the night, I gotta say as well, out of SBG as well, is Claudio Pacella, who defeated Mark Ewan by unanimous decision. I mean, Mark Ewan, they were talking him up. He was undefeated here. I was looking at the odds here, and I thought these odds were massively out, given the fact that, you know, I'd seen Pacella's last couple of fights, and he had some good wins. He was looking good there as well, and came in here, didn't have the best of starts, but, you know, bit down on the gum shield, found a way. And I just was massively impressed by this guy's performance, Caoilte. I'm sure you were the same.
Oh yeah, and agree with you in terms of this could have been performances of the night. And from an overall perspective, he really delivered. And like, we obviously saw him go in there against Patrick Happy-Roar. That was another brilliant fight. And when he came out the wrong side in the judges' scorecards, but he came back and he really, you know, probably a tougher fight this time in Mark Ewan. And wow, he looked sensational. That was kind of parked the brakes on the Mark Ewan hype train there a little bit, and hopefully he's gained a bit of momentum himself. I think prime spot to be getting on PFL card soon, and yeah, like they were bigging up Mark Ewan beforehand as well, weren't they? Like saying, I think
they were,
Dan
yeah, and look, and rightly so. Look at he's a top prospect. I mean, it's sharp striking, but I think his downfall is, he leaves his chin out there a little bit, and I think Pachella noticed that early on. And, you could see him throwing that overhand right early days, and it was like just missing the mark, but he eventually found his range and the timing and just started landing it at will and dropped Ewan a couple of times. And, he was hurt a couple of times himself and showed the heart and determination to get back into it. I mean, yeah, I can't say enough great things about Claudio Pachella. I thought it was a fantastic performance and, an excellent win for the SBG man. Rounding off the card, Caoilte, obviously, look, we'll round it off maybe in a little bit of a negative kind of a vibe. Obviously, Nikola Ivanovic was added to the card at the death to take on Bell Wellness. Lost via a first round KO, TKO. I wasn't really too pleased to see Ivanovic being added onto this card. I mean, 0-7 coming in, now it's 0-8 as a mixed martial artist. And look, I understand matchmaking is difficult. I understand, you've got to get these guys fights, and, Bell Wellness wants to go out there and get a win and get a fight as well and get paid more so than anything else. I mean, you don't fight, you don't get paid. But there's got to be a better way to kind of do this. There's got to be a better way than relying on a 0-7 or 0-8 guy coming in here. Look, with all due respect to Nicola, no camp, no coaches. It's a really kind of a sad situation, and one that you wouldn't really expect to see. Like, I mean, look, at PFL have put on, and Bellator have put on fights with losing records too. But I think, bringing in a 0-7, 0-8 guy is taking the piss, to be honest.
Oh, it is. Like they ran themselves as the co-leader of and all these global these mad catchphrases, I guess they use that maybe even Bellator didn't really use before. They really press it, and then doing something like this, I do believe, kind of not devalues, but it's it's like, really, that was when I saw it.
It devalues it a little bit, I think. And look, I feel bad for a guy like Ben Wellness as well, which it devalues him as a fighter as well. Like, he can only fight who's put in front of him as well, but like, he's not going to learn
his reaction to that as well, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could, and look at it. Obviously, to be able to compete and win, but there was a lot of anyone who was in the know, of course, would have, like, we were all outspoken about it, and a few more in Irish media and UK media as well. And is there other ways that we can kind of do this? Like, we have the Dublin card coming up in a couple of weeks. Could we have held off and maybe put Bell Wellness on that card and found him a better matched opponent? And look at Ivanovic, you got to credit his heart, you got to credit his determination and his confidence to come in here and take these fights. But at 0-8 right now, Caoilte, you have to talk about the health and well-being of a fighter, and you just cannot continue to be brought into these fights on short notice with very little time to prepare and be used as a punch bag. I don't think it's fair for him. I don't think it's fair for any of the fighters that he's used, like he's fighting against either. And he's shown some good flashes of skills as well. Obviously, put it up to Lee Hammond and everything like that. So I say this with the greatest respect to him. And the stage is going to have to be a decision made whether his wanting this to continue in this sport is worth it for the health and well-being as him as a man. And it's a difficult kind of conversation to have. It's difficult for us to say, but I think it has to be said too at the same time, doesn't it?
No, you're dead right. Like, that type of stuff is something we've probably seen. What PFL did there is very much what you see at regional level type of stuff at times when it's a ticket seller. But he's going in there against top prospects, and with all in fairness, he gives a good account of himself when he goes in there. He's clearly got ability. He's clearly tough. I just don't think he's got enough people or the right people around him, kind of to help manage his career. And I believe he's his own coach. And that makes things, you're making decisions maybe without having someone else to look out for your best interests and pull you back. Like, I've seen situations before, and one in particular stands out is someone was being put into fights, and they, I guess, it wasn't looking really like it was going to happen anymore. I wasn't really clicking in there, and and then it was like, oh, the conversation was had. It's like, look, not sure about putting you in it so soon again. After maybe take some time, and then we'll see. And having that someone, because they're looking out for the best for your health at the end of the day, looking out for you. You're going to a cage with people, and that's having that person. I think that's what's been missing here. And people, I don't want to say even kind of that willingness to fight and come in late has been taken advantage of. But it seems kind of that way, where he's going in, as you said, kind of almost like a punching bag at times against top prospects. And how long until it gets to a stage where he goes in against someone and gets really hurt because he doesn't have a proper training camp and comes up against someone that's just, different level, like the ones he's been up against so far, and something goes wrong. You don't want to see someone get hurt, and their health is the most important thing at the end of the day. And I don't know. It's a sad situation to see, because he seems like a good lad who's clearly got ability, but just career is not being managed correctly, unfortunately.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Very well said. All right, a couple of little tidbits here to round us off before we finish up this episode of the Auld Triangle. Thanks everybody for listening. We had Paul Politgo, who defeated Simon Rakovic via decision at Babylon MMA 45 for the featherweight belt. Paul has been a mainstay in Irish MMA, obviously fighting out of SBG as well, Caoilte. So good win for him over there at Babylon.
He's been around for ages, Pavel, and he's, serious fighter, and good to see him pick up a belt. Another good win for SBG as well. So they've been busy this weekend. They've been all over the world. Jesus, so
busy this month. I've seen John Kavanagh putting up the tweets and continuing and doing quite well too. I mean, fights. Obviously, we had Stephen on as a guest here. He picked up a title, and he's jet setting all around the place and picking up titles. Unfortunately, Ryan Keogh was left disappointed on his MMA debut. He made it this past weekend. Somewhat flew a little bit under the radar, Ryan Keogh's pro debut. Surprisingly enough, kind of just popped up on my timeline a couple of days ago as well. But he dropped a decision to Silman Hassani at Hexicon MMA 18 over in France, I believe that was as well. So obviously, look at Ryan will be a little bit disappointed again. And obviously, Ireland's and Offaly's and Winnipeg's own Brad Katona defeated Jesse Butler at UFC Louisville in Kentucky this past weekend. Went in as a massive favourite, absolutely dominated the fight from bell to bell. Caoilte might be a little bit disappointed not to have picked up the finish. I think there was one there for him, and it kind of is a thing that does escape him from time to time. But I mean, he tried he tried the hell to try and get Butler out of there, but Butler kind of stayed tough and true throughout the fight and held on in there. But Katona picked up that one-sided decision there. Did you get to catch that performance at all?
I did, yeah. He was dominant bell to bell, as you mentioned. Grappling was, the takedown was there when he wanted to. Really, he was so dominant on the ground on top, landing damage from top as well. He's probably a little bit, I think I saw an interview afterwards, and I believe he was a little bit disappointed he didn't get to finish because it was there. But when you're winning in that fashion and so dominant and kind of putting a statement out there as well, I hope he sees the kind of the good of it as well, because may not got the finish, but got a big win. You're progressing the UFC at the end of the day. It's the hardest organization to get a win out there, and to be winning in that fashion just shows how good he is, and how what could be next and what the future kind of holds for him. Really, I imagine there's a good fight coming next after this. I don't know what you think.
100%. Yeah, I do think the same. Look, obviously that disappointment will be there, but picking up wins in the octagon, it ain't easy, and he's done it an abundance of times. Obviously, look, it was disappointed after the way his last fight went to go out there, get back in the win column, set up another big fight for him. Fair play to him. All the credit in the world. Last but not least, I guess a couple of tidbits. Obviously, we're going to talk about Premier FC, the outdoor event in Kilkenny, obviously on the next episode of the Auld Triangle. I think we have a couple of other events, Virtus as well, as happening, I believe, in around that time on the 29th as well. Of course, we had the big Cage Legacy show coming up from the warehouse as well on July 27th. We had the main event. I think it was announced as the main event. Caoilte, correct me if I am wrong again.
I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah, Max Lally versus Wesley Machado for the Pro MMA European title. The introduction of a European title into Cage Legacy, and the opportunity for Max to go out there and take on Wesley Machado. Not sure how Brazilian qualifies for European title, but I do know he is. I'm only joking. I do know he does train regularly out of the UK. Caoilte as well. You're familiar with Wesley Machado. Had a couple of fights, obviously didn't go his way in Cage Warriors, but a good test here for Max Lally.
Yeah, definitely a good test. Like a lad who's going in there. If Ian Dean is matching someone in Cage Warriors more than once, you know they're going to be good. So this is definitely a good test. He's got a win over Junior Morgan, who we saw at Bellator before. Definitely a good test and a step up from what his previous opposition has been. So, yeah, brilliant. We're going to be at that one too. Can't wait.
We'll be at that. We'll see that live in person. Really looking forward to that as well. Obviously, break down that card a little bit more closer to the time. And that's it. We'll check it. Go ahead.
They leave Ireland once for one show, and they bring in European titles. Isn't it?
That's it. Yeah. Getting really European already. I love it.
England's not even in Europe anymore, so I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Good point there. Yeah, we'll have to call up Deco on that. Absolutely. I think that wraps us up for episode 59 episodes in. Mad to think that. Like I said, it was great to have Andy at the start. We wish him the best. Hope he enjoys his travels. He'll be back with us again for the next podcast too, which will be right up close to the big Conor McGregor fight that's going to be happening on June 29th as well. We'll break that down in full on the next episode of the Auld Triangle. Thanks to everybody for listening in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, give us 5 stars on Spotify, give us a follow on SoundCloud, wherever you listen to it. We always appreciate the support. And all that's left to do is for Caoilte to see us out.
Gurmi and Magwiv, agus long go